Hey everybody, welcome to No Ideas Media. I'm Nick Syke, and today's video is going to be kind of a cool one. A lot of people wonder how I got into this work or like what my personal motivations are for this work, and a lot of it comes back to one trip that I took about a decade ago when I had just recently graduated from film school. I got a chance to co-direct and shoot a documentary in Sudan. This was like 2009. This was just before Sudan voted to become North and South Sudan. So this was like right before that whole political thing. The country was in a bit of an interesting situation. And on that trip, while we were filming, I found myself in a really stressful, kind of traumatic situation. And it was funny because the other day I spooled up my hard drive with all my footage on it from Sudan just to make sure that it wasn't corrupt or anything. And I was leafing through footage and I found a clip that I totally forgot about. This is Nick from 10 years ago talking about this traumatic event that happened right after it happened. So this is gonna be a cool window into like past Nick. And I'm just gonna roll this clip and you'll hear the story firsthand. Here you go.
Hey, it's the 4th. I'm in a tent right now in a Tar village, which looks something like this. Anyways, coming home early. Yesterday was a really intense day. We were on the river yesterday coming down to Malatar, and we had the cameras out filming because we were allowed to film everything. We had talked to everybody in charge, and the idea is when you see a military person or a police officer, you turn your camera off and turn it away and don't film them. But we were coming up on a boat, and we were filming the boat, and then we realized there was military in it, so we turned off the camera, put the camera away. And then just around the corner there was a military check stop that we had to stop at. So we stopped there. We had passed the boat that we were filming, and we went and talked to them, and just as we were leaving, the next boat pulled up. But one of the guys in the boat started yelling, like, they were filming me, they were filming me, they were filming me. And so we had already gotten offshore, and we had to turn back around and come back and talk to the military again. They were a little concerned. No big deal. But then a third boat pulled up, and a guy was in it. He looked like he was pretty drunk, actually, is what it was. And he came up and instantly started yelling at them, like, let them go, just don't worry about it, leave them be, no worries. And then he pulled out a pistol. And when he pulled out a pistol, the army guys cocked their guns and took 3 steps back, and everybody started screaming, and I hit the deck in the boat, and everybody was like, get down. He grabbed the pistol from the guy. It was close. It was a close day yesterday. That was the closest I've ever been to a gun and ever had it pointed at my face. So it's pretty interesting. The military guys were shouting at me to get out of the boat, and other people were saying, no, don't get out of the boat, stay in the boat. It was intense. So I'm coming home early.
So yeah, that's what happened. And you can tell by the look on my face there and by my general tone, that was me at 19 struggling with one of the most difficult situations that I had ever experienced. The part of that even is funnier is that, like, at that point, I just really wanted to call home. I wanted to talk to my girlfriend at the time and just get a word from somebody that I knew. So I asked some people in the village, like, where can I get a cell signal, because I wasn't getting one there. And the sense was like, well, you won't get one here, but if you walk like a kilometer that way, there's like a little hill you can stand on and you might get a cell signal. So I did that. I hiked out, a kilometer into the Sudanese desert, and I stood on this hill and called home. And it was like 4:30 in the morning at home, and my girlfriend picked up the phone, and we had not been on good terms prior to that trip. But when she answered the phone, we kind of got in a fight, and she sort of like semi broke up with me on the phone. And I remember hanging up the phone and just standing on this rise at 19, 20 years old, and just standing there looking around and being like, oh, I am like thousands of kilometers away from home. I've never been more alone than I am at this point in my life. It was like the biggest existential crisis I had ever had. And the thing about that experience that sticks with me is not the trauma of the experience, but it was waking up the next day and I can't even describe the feeling of waking up the next day. It was like this overwhelming gratitude for just being alive. And that was a really interesting experience because during that whole gun situation, there were other people around who, were taking it all in stride and acting with a lot more grace than I was acting with at the time. And it occurred to me that, like, okay, for me from North America, this is an experience that I've never experienced before. But for everybody else in this area, like, this is, I'm not going to say typical, but it's typical. It's something that they experienced in Sudan a lot. People had previous experience for that. And it gave me a sense for why people in East African nations, or in, for lack of a better word, developing nations, why they have such an appreciation for life. Because it's precious there. It's not a guarantee you're going to wake up the next day. It's not a guarantee that you're safe. It's not a guarantee that your family is fed. So it's just like life has a different intrinsic value proposition there. And it was a really interesting thing to experience. It gave me a lot of empathy for people living in those unstable parts of the world where, they don't have the affluence or the stability that we have in North America. And, that trip, that experience did more to inform my worldview than I think any other one single thing that I can point to. And I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this video other than to say, like, traveling is so important. If you've never been out of your country, if you've never experienced the way that other people live, it's so essential. There's a quote from somebody, I forget who it is, saying that, like, travel is the cure for racism. And I could see where they're coming from on that. It was a really formative experience, and I thought it would be cool to share it with you because I happen to have that clip of me from, like, long ago talking about this thing that just happened. So it's weird. It's interesting for, like, now Nick to watch then Nick go through that experience. It's cathartic in a way, and it's kind of cool. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. Maybe you'll have a better sense of where I'm coming from now, or some of the things that have informed my work that I'm doing, and that's one of them. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Oh, shoot. Hang on one second. Patrons to thank. I almost forgot. Mark Keating, Jeremy Snyder, Troy Jesse, Kara Rudd, Midwest Ag Services, Sam Hajek. Hajek, I hope I said that right. These are all $50 patrons. So these are people who've anteed up quite a bit to help me keep making videos. So I just wanted to thank these people personally. That's about it. Have a good day. Thanks for watching.